Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Model Kit Review. In today's episode, we are looking at Fujimi's classic Messerschmitt Bf 109 G through K. This is Fujimi kit number 5A22-700, and the copyright on this kit is 1983. So this kit has been around for a long time. I know Fujimi produced quite a few different Bf 109 kits, but I'm solely going to be focused on this particular kit. In this model kit review, we are going to be taking a look at the kit instructions. We'll look at the clear parts on the kit. I'll also go over any modifications that I made to the kit parts, and we'll talk about the kit decals. I will also go over any additional aftermarket parts that I used in this build, and we'll talk about some potential trouble spots to watch out for and the solutions that I did to get around these areas. We're going to be attempting to answer the question, is Fujimi's Bf 109 G through K still worth building? There are lots of other Bf 109 kits available currently, and this one is certainly not state-of-the-art, but we'll discuss some of the pros and cons with this particular kit, and you can decide if it's something that you'd like to build or not. Right off the bat, with this kit, you can really only build a G model Bf 109. It has the tail for the early Bf 109Gs, and then it also has the bumps and the larger tail for the later Bf 109Gs. However, a Bf 109K with its distinctive engine cowl is out of the question. There really aren't the parts in the kit to build a K model Bf 109. Another thing that is quickly apparent is that this kit does not allow posable slats or flaps. And so all your control surfaces are modeled in the neutral position. All the flaps are modeled closed, as are the slats. I know that feature differs from later Fujimi Bf 109 kits as well. Looking at the kit instructions, step 1 covers the interior of the kit. It covers the sidewall detail on each fuselage half. It also covers the instrument panel and the floor and seat. I did not use the pilot figure that's included, but I did add a set of pre-painted Edward photo etch seatbelts to dress up the interior a little bit. There's also a prominent fuel line that runs through the cockpit that is yellow. I made that out of a spare paper clip, and I painted that, and you can see that in this photo. Step 2 covers the cockpit canopy. If you decide to model an earlier model G, you're going to be using parts 77 and 70. And oddly enough, it does not allow for an open cockpit canopy. It does not give you that option with what comes in the kit. The clarity on the clear parts was fine. I really didn't have any issues with them. Step 3 covers the tail of the aircraft. I differed from this assembly sequence by gluing each tail half to the corresponding fuselage half prior to joining the fuselage halves. And that allowed me just to focus on the seam on each part and to get a really good fit. This came out great. You cannot tell that there was a tail extension on this kit at all. Step 4 covers the air intake for the engine, and I wanted to do a tropical aircraft, but I didn't like the kit parts. They're very low on detail, and that's specifically parts 44 and 45. What I did was use a tropical air filter from an Academy Bf 109 kit. That came out really nicely. Step 5 has you opening up the holes in the lower wing for whatever options you want for armament and the belly rack. Just make sure you know what options you're going to do before drilling these holes. In step 6, you're joining the fuselage halves and installing the instrument panel. One thing I noticed immediately once putting everything together was that the spinner for the aircraft was smaller than the nose on the fuselage. I had to taper the nose down until it was the same diameter as the spinner on the back of the prop. You can see this a little bit. It honestly came out very nicely, but if you don't taper this, it's going to be a prominent seam all the way around the prop, and that's incorrect. Another thing I did to add a little bit of detail was to add some plastic strip around the nose guns, and you can see that in this picture here. There's a lot going on in step 7. As I said before, I attached the rudder to the fuselage halves separately before this step. I also glued the upper wings to the fuselage halves in order to get a very good wing root fit. There is no engraved detail on the spinner itself, so what I did was to draw some detail on there with a fine mechanical pencil, and that honestly came out pretty nicely. Step 8 covers installing the landing gear and the belly tank or bomb rack. That turned out nicely for me. And the second part of step 8 is installing the armament under the wings if you choose to do that. I chose to use the 20mm underwing cannon because they were on the aircraft I was trying to model. Moving on in the instructions, there is a whole page dedicated to determining what options your particular aircraft is going to have. I would say study this very well. Make sure you know what options you're going to use on this kit prior to building it. The only real difficulty on this kit is to make sure you get all the little details right as far as what options, what antennas, what rudder, etc. As far as a marking guide, I bought this kit secondhand on eBay and it did not come with a marking guide. The only thing that came in the kit was the stencil guide shown here. The decals themselves are very comprehensive. There are all sorts of unit markings and it's just an extensive sheet here. Unfortunately, the decals have started to yellow and they're close to unusable. I used a few of them, as you can see here, but most of them I pirated from other kits. I found a great historical photo of a Bf 109 G2 in Sicily. It's in the desert camouflage scheme. I really wanted to build this particular aircraft. So I studied the photo quite a bit. I was able to use either decals from other kits or make my own and come up with the color scheme for this plane. Time to answer the question, is this Fujimi kit still worth building? Looking at the photos, I'm so happy with the way that this kit turned out. I had so much fun building it, weathering it, making subtle improvements to it, and researching the color scheme. It was not a difficult build. The clear parts are nice on it. The surface detail is incredible, and it looks so good under a coat of paint and with a little bit of weathering. The only real snafu with the kit is the front of the fuselage where it joins the nose spinner. Just a little bit of sanding around the nose there to taper it down to the correct diameter really improved the look of the kit. As I mentioned earlier, none of the flaps can be opened, none of the slats can be opened, and that's kind of a major drawback to this kit, but it does build quickly because of the simplicity of it. I would recommend this kit to modelers with a little bit of experience, people getting back into the hobby and wanting kind of a practice run. This is a good kit. And even newbie modelers, it has so few parts and it's such an easy build that a newer modeler shouldn't have issues with this kit. I would recommend replacing the decals, but I still had a lot of fun with it and I love the way it turned out. Well, I'd love to know what you guys think. If any of you have built this Fujimi Bf 109 before, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, model on.